Hey guys, Artosis here, bringing you some more of the MoonLight Pro League. We are in the Winners League right now, and Ruin is the last player left alive for his team. He did just take down Motive in the last game, so he's got 2 more to go if his team is to close this out. If not, if the opposing team ends up taking down Ruin before he can kill everybody, we will go to a Super Ace match. Now, just some quick housekeeping here, guys. I have had some people mention that they thought that the music or the in-game sounds were a little bit off. I have adjusted that for this video, so please do leave a comment and let me know if you like this audio level more. Now, don't just post it right now. Just wait a minute, watch the game a little bit, and see if you actually think that this is a good level when battles start happening and stuff. And, please do know that there is some lag time from when I get feedback like that to when it gets implemented. I do record these in batches, so yeah, you might say like, oh, the sound is off on this, and we gotta wait until the next recording batch. And in fact, as I'm doing this, that sounds a little bit high, if you ask me, the Warpin sounds. So, gonna tune that down a little bit. But anyways, we'll get this to a perfect location and keep it there, so do let me know what you think. Anyways, thank you for tuning into ArtosisCasts. This is, right now, Ruin, one of my favorite Protoss players, going up against Spire, a very strong Zerg player. I would kind of favor Ruin here. I think that Ruin might be the second best player in this group. Probably him or Scan, in my opinion, next to Barracks, of course, who's just been outperforming almost every player in the world recently. And it is cross-spawn here on Vermeer, PVZ. Looks like a gateway expansion build coming out of Ruin. We'll see how many Zealots he wants to make. You did see the probe kind of jot over here and look to see if an Overlord was coming. It was not, so he did decide to go to the bottom right. Of course, there is a little bit of a risk in that because Zergs should be altering their scout patterns occasionally to punish this type of move, but it's not going to be punished this time. He is going to find Spire second here, and he is going to see, in fact, that it is a hatchery first build. So he might be able to get some damage done with Zealot. We'll see, at least some pressure, not necessarily any kills, but this can be highly annoying, this Zealot that is walking across the map right now. Strutting across the map, more like. Now the drone comes up, gets a nice scout. Ooh, he blocks the Nexus like literally as it hits 400 minerals, and that's annoying, but he loses the drone. So not worth because of the drone loss, but before that we were liking what we were seeing. Drone's coming out to fight a little bit here. It looks like the Zealot actually turns around. Now one thing you want to do is make sure that the Overlords aren't tracking too well on the Zealots. It's actually very valuable for the Overlords to see the Zealots, like when you walk out. In fact, that's a big part of PvZ early game. For instance, let's say this Overlord parks here. You want to walk Zealots past it to make your opponent think that you're attacking. And if you do that, then your opponent might just make more Zerglings, for instance. So you might do something like the Overlord's here, you walk the Zealots past, then you walk them over here, and you walk them back, so it doesn't see them. Moves like that, very, very powerful. You really, you know, that's a big part of playing against Zerg. And I think that playing against Zerg or watching games against Zerg, a lot of people get confused because sometimes Zerg looks absolutely unbeatable. And the thing is, you have to dictate what Zerg is doing with its larva. If you allow them to just get the drones that they want, well, they are unbeatable. It's ridiculous how strong they become. But if you continually put on that pressure, force them to do things like make units when they want to make drones, then the economy starts to suffer, things get harder, and that's really kind of the way that you want to beat a Zerg player, really, simply said. Now, this is going to be a 3-hatch Hydra bust, it looks like. Hydralisk Den on the way, first Photon Cannon going down here for Ruin. We'll see if he can actually get that intel. He does have this one Zealot out in the front just kind of patrolling, making sure there's no Lings nearby. And I think as this finishes, there's a good chance these Zealots will go across the map. He does need to get intel relatively soon here. We can see that the Stargate is a ways away. Of course, you know, I'm sure that you guys have seen PVZs before, and you'll notice that as the Corsair comes out, it'll be about here when it sees a Hydra. So that's a little bit late. Like, you can live sometimes still, but a lot of times you want those Zealots to go down and try to confirm before that. We'll see if he is able to do that. coming up. Now, taking a look back here, the Hydralisk speed upgrade almost done. We're on 22 drones, so pretty solid economy so far. We have 7 here, 9 here, and 4 here. That's actually very normal. It actually used to be 3 here, but we've seen a little bit of drone adding going on recently. And that's actually very normal. It's like actually a build called 973. I know it's it's so clever. But this is how Zerg players name their builds a lot of times, is based off of how many drones they're getting at each base for a build like the Hydralisk Bust. Now you see that 4th drone being turned into a hatchery, so this is going to be a build that is a little bit more likely to transition, be able to pump out a bunch of drones and everything. We can see that this probe is trying to get down here and get some scouting done, and the Hydra is trying to get around. Okay, so there's the course here. It actually gets a little bit further down than I was saying right here. Gets to the middle, sees those Hydras. They do have the speed upgraded, and of course, he's got to start throwing down more cannons now. He had already started a 2nd one out of safety. We have the 3rd one coming up, and a 2nd gateway in the natural. Another forge going up in this main base, realizing that he is going to need that. +1 is actually not done or anything, so looks like he's going to wait to start upgrades until this forge finishes. Also looks like we have a stuck probe there, so a little bit sad. The Hydra is going to start working on this gateway. DT trying to come out, but it's not going to come out in time. That's actually, it feels really unfortunate for Ruin right now, right? That is part of the reason why he threw down a 2nd gateway immediately. I think he knew this was going to happen, but the DT can be very useful in these situations. Overlord speed, very, very slow in a game like this. Now, picking away at that forge, it's a very good idea to remove the buildings before you run up with the Hydras so that there isn't as much blocking them. A couple more cannons coming up. We have that +1 on the way. Taking a look back here, you see a 5th hatchery, the layer coming up. It's amazing watching Zergs recover this economy while doing such a scary push. And in fact, Ruin cancels 2 of the cannons. Love seeing moves like that. That is a huge difference between a top-level Protoss and a lower-level one. He's scouting with his Corsair this whole time. He sees additional hatcheries. He sees at-home Hydras being kept, drones being made, layer on the way. So he cancels out those additional cannons so he can grab more gateways and maybe actually move out on the map more quickly, right? Like, don't forget, every cannon could have been a gateway. And the later your gateways come out, the more difficult it is going to be to get out there and start clearing units, start attacking bases and all that as well. Now, I think what we're waiting for here is the legs upgrade, right? Zealot legs is like the most important thing in the early game. Once you get that leg upgrade, they get that speed boost. And as the Zealots come out, like obviously this small group of Hydras will get absolutely mangled by the Zealots that are out already as soon as they have that speed. So when the speed Zealots come out and push these Hydras back, the DT is going to wander out and try to see if he can find some damage. But honestly, this setup is fantastic for Spire right now. Look at this. He's up at 5 hatches, going into 6. He's getting a lot of drones. Look at that drone count. 45. He's over doubled the drones from the last time that we really paid attention to that, which was at the beginning of the rush. So now he's got a very solid economy, and he's going to have to start producing units because here comes Ruin. The first group of Zealots coming out, and as you can see, this Dark Templar kind of going over to the side. Oh, God. Oh, God. He might get picked here. Yeah, that was a nice move there from Spire. Very, very impressive stuff. The Hydra's trying to pick off the Corsairs. Corsairs desperately want to get rid of this Overlord, get all Overlords in the vicinity out of here so that there's less information coming in. Back at home, we see 4 High Templars out, a very normal number. This is like kind of the current metagame of PvZ. You get 4 High Templars, you let them charge up their energy all the way, you mass up what you want, whether that's more Zealots, whether that's going into Dragoons, which has become much more trendy, and then you're going to be able to do a push with a lot of Psy Storms. You can see here he's got to clear this out. There's no room for Dragoons to actually move out of here, and in fact, you know, it's just annoying in general to pad out, but that rush portion of the game is over, so it doesn't need all the cannons anymore. I mean, they still have some use. You know, no little counterattacks are going to come in or anything like that. Now, looking at Spire's base, he has thrown up that building named after him, or he has named himself after, the Spire. He's making those Mutalisks, and that is specifically to try to snipe down these High Templars. We're going to see if he's able to. One thing I got to mention about Ruin that I think is really interesting, Oh, he actually did end up canceling. Okay, because I saw him during the Hydra Rush, or at the end of it, start +1 air weapons, which I thought was an interesting timing, because it takes long enough that it would slow Dragoon range. But it looks like he was kind of hedging against a possible quick Mutalisk switch, and in fact, he canceled that. He doesn't have that +1 air attack. Instead, he is going into the Dragoon range. He's got double forges spinning. I'm actually really liking how Ruin is playing this game right now. Spire, though, not bad. He's getting that 4th base. He's got good Sim Cities. He's got a few Lurkers out as well, which really makes these Zealots have a lot less value. It is so difficult to run Zealots around and attack into positions with Lurkers. They just take so much splash damage. Obviously, you don't have an Observer with them at this point either. The Observer is kind of the last piece of tech for the mid-game. As you can see, the Observatory coming up, he's already got lots of High Templars and everything as well. Ruin trying to take a 3rd base, but Spire very on top of it, brings his Hydras up, going to cancel that down. I got to tell you, I feel like both these guys are playing a really, really clean and nice game. And you can see the supply blocks are starting to come in. This little group of Corsairs, Ruin has kept alive. He's been rotating them around, and he is slowing his opponent here. Now, here come those Mutas. One Storm goes down. We do hear a High Templar die there. Yeah, it was only one. So we see the other one here and the other 2 that we were talking about up at the Nexus. Just kind of keeping them safe. I like that a lot. A lot of Protosses will actually bring all the High Templars with their army, and if you end up losing them all to that group of Mutas, you're probably not going to be able to win the game. But he does have 2 Psy Storms here. The Mutas took a lot of damage. Not entirely sure how many Mutas are left. Yeah, it's like 1 Mutalisk left. So he actually defended that really well. He killed 5 or 6 Mutalisks, you know, only losing 1 High Templar. So that's very, very solid. He's got to be happy with that. Now, the other High Templars have come down. A lot of Dragoons mixed in. +1 armor and +2 attack are coming up and will be done relatively soon here. 3rd Nexus going down. Ruin just kind of zoning everything out. Let's zoom out and take a look at this area, right? So this is like the Protoss area. And if he can just keep Zerg out of here, like guard this area, then he can get up his 3rd base, which does have a gas. Every base on this map has a gas, which is good for PvZ. You need that additional gas. So if he can start getting more High Templars out, more Dragoons, have that steady Observer flow as well, he's going to be feeling very good about the future. But got to point out once again, Spire is playing a very solid game here. Now, a DT drop actually going into the main base. I almost missed that, actually. Let's see what type of damage he can get done. Oh, Spire is so on top of things. Saw that flick on the minimap. Brings his Overlords up. Gets the drones out of there. Doesn't look like any real damage will be done. But it does take some time to clean up. So, not completely a loss there for Ruin. Who, by the way, while all those Hydras are in the main base, does move his army into a more powerful position. Kind of taking this high ground position. You're not going to be able to attack into this army right now. Obviously, between Psystorm and that high ground advantage. And now he's going to flow over this bridge towards that 4th base. There are some Lurkers coming up, but he does have an Observer here now. And this is 6 Psystorms. Look at that. Beautiful Psystorm goes down. Starts to pummel this base. The 4th base just going to fall for Spire. Loses a few drones. Loses a few Hydras. A Lurker. Not the end of the world, but it definitely looks like Ruin is starting to take the advantage here. Right, he's got his own 3rd base up, and in fact, he's already warping in his 4th base, which is so strong. When Protoss gets 4 base, man, they can do anything, especially if they have gas there, which they absolutely do on Vermeer, like I mentioned. Another Psystorm going down, beautifully pushing back these Hydras. Still some big macro coming out here of Spire. Don't forget, like, Zerg supply is very, very strong because it's low, right? Like, every Protoss unit in the army is 2 supply. Hydras are 1, Lings are half a supply. So it really, like, the Zerg army is stronger than what it looks like, especially when you take away 14 supply difference in workers. But it is weak to Psystorm. That's going to be kind of the issue for him. If Ruin can take these engagements correctly, if he can nail his Psystorms, that becomes highly problematic for Spire. This army just doesn't fight super well against well-placed Psystorms. Now, here comes the rest of the army. Some of the High Templars starting to lag behind a little bit. This one's low on health. He might end up losing it. The Hydra's running into cannon, so a big flank going down. Psystorms come up, but misses one of them there. Doesn't quite get it off. He is killing all those Hydras that went up to his Nexus. We'll have to retreat these Dragoons as well. Let's see if he has... oh, man. 2 more High Templars have come out, but they don't have energy as of yet. So right now, we're going to have to see Ruin fight with just Zealot Dragoon. He is pushing everything back reasonably well. Don't forget, no splash damage makes it a lot harder to fight these armies. They do win without the splash damage there unless you have a big advantage as Protoss. Nice storm right there. Looks like he was planning some harassment with the shuttle, but it comes in to save the day. More lurkers being morphed. Spire may be getting ready to try to set up a containment here. And by the way, it looks like a DT came over and killed a base. Oh, man. Those DTs just so hard to deal with. Now, some storms going down on the eggs. Just wants to prevent the lurkers before they are even hatching. This fourth base looks to be getting up as well. And Spire is putting, like, a lot of pressure onto this area, but it seems like there's just enough Side Storms, plus the Dragoons kind of back in a little bit of an arc with beautiful 2-2 upgrades against just 2-0. And, of course, the cannons helping out here as well. More Hydras continue to fly up. Corsairs still rotating around, trying to get some picks. In fact, you see another supply block coming up here for Spire. Oh, man, the Side Storms are absolutely never-ending. It's kind of crazy when you see a really, really strong Protoss play PvZ. You know, a lot of times you'll watch Zerg versus Protoss, and you'll think, wow, Zerg seems really favored here. And then you see a really good Protoss, and it's like, damn, man, he just kills that army over and over and over. It seems like there's a lot of Zerg units, and then Storm just decimates everything. And in fact, look at the supply differential. Almost maxed out for Ruin. About 100 supply here for Spire. I don't think this game is going to go on any longer. It's just a 3-base Zerg against a 4-base Protoss. That's not something you are ever going to be able to win. So let's see if Ruin can actually finish this one off. It's attacking up into this kind of fortified position. Lurkers just hatching, though. The Psy Storm's going down. And, I mean, as this army dies, I think Spire just has to GG. There's really nothing left for him here. He's trying to flank. He's trying to come in from a different direction. But Ruin just has way, way, way too much. Lots of High Templars left over. Lots of Dragoons still. There's no Hive Tech or anything here for Spire, so it's not like he can get into Defilers and become more cost-efficient. Can't even get his +3 going. So definitely some big issues. Just continually being a Hydra man here. And, yeah, it does certainly look like this is going to be the end here for our Zerg player. GG.